Hi, I'm Igor Sandman. I'm a pixel artist. I make a pixel art piece every day. Today the topic is Ashtray, as you can see here. I've taken a picture online and I'm going to use it as a reference. I will use it as a reference for volumes, but not for colors and the position of the cigarettes and whatnot. I will change the lighting also. It's the perfect opportunity to, the topic of today is perfect opportunity to make a still life, and still life is to me the best way to learn new things that you can use in your art. Every time I create one of these, I pick up a few things that I can use later. Sometimes they're not very important, but sometimes you can use them. What I want to try and do today is, if I were to pick a real ashtray and take a photo of it, I would probably light it from the back, because I want to add a smoke on it, you know, like as if one of the cigarettes was still lit. And the best way to light that is to, in real life, if you want to take a photo of that, you would make sure you have some kind of light source that's coming from the back, and that puts the smoke into light. It's a common trick in photography. Also, it would create backlight is also creating this impression of night scene, and I want to create this kind. I want to evoke nightlife with this picture. And finally, I want to try and get a caustic going, caustic light. You don't see caustic much in this picture. In case you don't know what caustic light is, I'm sure you've seen it before. Imagine a glass of water on a table, and the sun is hitting it, and on the other side you see on the table a bright spot of light. That's actually caustic. I don't know the exact science behind it, but I believe it's the light coming through the sides of the glass and bouncing until it's released, and it's concentrated in one spot, which is why it's so bright. And also sometimes it creates a crossing shape, because they are coming from both sides and are reflected. So I want to try and get that going, so maybe I will learn something from it. I'm kind of thinking of a film noir kind of scenario. I love film noirs. It's probably taking place. This ashtray is probably on the desk of a, private detective or something. Oops. It's probably gonna be dark. What I'm doing right here with these two discs is visualizing the volume of the thing. I'm trying to get this cylinder going. I try to get the right height and the right shape for this contour. It's also an opportunity to I can show perspective by, if I overlap two, right there, if I overlap two ellipses, I guess I should say, and I slightly shift them, it's giving the illusion of perspective. You know what I mean? If I centered it, I will do it with a circle just to show you. If I center it like this, it's seen from the top. Whereas if I displace it like this, it's seen from slightly at an angle, you know. I mentioned that when I made the drill. Was it the day before yesterday, I think? Alright, so I've got my basic shape. So what can I do? I would like to try and push it to the side. This will be filled with cigarettes, so I don't worry too much about it. I got a great response from my demo of my game yesterday. Thank you all for your great feedback. I'm glad you liked it. I've got questions about my prototypes. Maybe I should talk about it today. To me, prototyping is very important. Not just prototyping, but getting my ideas on paper. You know, sometimes, you know, when you're working on a game, I guess, and you've got plenty of ideas coming, and you try to keep them away because you don't want to be distracted. I used to struggle with that. I had all those ideas coming, and I wanted to try and explore them, you know, but I had other things to do, other priorities. And I realized that when I keep them away, they always come back and nag me. So I tried something different one day. I tried to wait and see if, when an idea comes, I let it be, you know. And if it stays after a day or two, I start working on it. I put my priorities on the side and work on that specific idea. And I try not to work too long on it, but basically 3 things can happen. One, the idea turns out to be a good idea, so I keep it. Once I realize that the idea is working, I stop working on it. I know the idea is good. I keep it on the side, and I come back to my main game or main project. Another thing that can happen is I realize it's not a good idea, so that idea will not be coming back at me because I know it's not good. Whereas if I don't try and explore it, it will come back to me, even though it's a bad idea. Another thing that can happen is I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I'm taking too much time to develop the prototype or something. In that instance, I keep it on the side and hope it doesn't come back to me. And if I can, I come back to it myself later. Sometimes exploring the idea is not especially making a prototype, you know, it can be just writing down on paper what I want to do, making small sketches, or designing the characters. Let me see. I want to try and get this area right. Maybe something like this. So yeah, I'm making a lot of different games, not worrying too much about my main game, I guess. Right now, I'm trying to think, should I explain to you all the prototypes that I've done from the first to the last one, or the other way around? I guess it would make more sense to explain to you what I'm doing now. Right now I'm working on a tactical RPG. It's inspired by Final Fantasy Tactics and whatnot, you know. Tactics Ogre, Vandal Artist, all those games. I found a great tutorial online, and it reminded me that I like tactical RPG, so I tried to make one with the tutorial, and it's working great. I also have an idea for a puzzle game inspired by, I guess it's a mix of, well, before I move on to the next, the tactical RPG. Right now I'm still following the tutorial and try to understand the principles, the techniques the guy used to create that kind of game. I'm working on it in Unity, so I've got sort of a prototype, but it's certainly not finished. I've got a few character design ready. Well, not really design, but I got it's not the characters that I designed, but I've got generic proportions and design principles that I want to use for that game. So then I've got this puzzle game. I haven't worked on it. It's not a prototype by any means. It's just ideas on paper. I want to create something between Captain Toad and Lost Vikings, if you ever played Lost Vikings. It's taking place, well, my game is taking place on one screen, and you have two characters that you can control. That's the bit that's inspired by Lost Vikings. You can control two characters and both have various abilities, and you gotta use the abilities of one to allow the other one to progress. And you have to gather both your character in one spot. If you haven't played Lost Viking, you should try it. It's fun. I played it a lot back in the days. I've prepared some to show you how I work when I want to try to get visual things. I don't know if you can see on the webcam. I draw some sketches. These are the abilities of one of the characters. You can. This guy is his abilities are oriented toward exploration. He can jump, dash. Can dash in the air. Can wall slide, wall jump, and then there's another one who can shoot. And that guy is influencing his environment. You know what I mean? He can kill the enemies. He can hit a switch from afar with his gun. And then I draw sketches for my ideas in this kind of way. You know, these are various switches type that you can find in the game. So there's one switch that you shoot at, and it goes from state A to state B, and it influences the environment. Like if it's in state A, the door is open. In state B, the door is closed, for instance. Then there is a switch where you need to stand on. If you move away from it, it will switch off. That kind of thing. Yeah, and the guy who influences environment, he can also push crates, so he can push a crate on top of a switch, whatnot. So that's how when I don't prototype, I try to do that. You know, I draw. I'm old school. I draw on a piece of paper. I should add ashes here and there. What other games did I develop? Oh yeah, I've worked a lot on. It's an RPG, but it's first person RPG. It's still in pixel art, but it's a first person pixel art, like Eye of the Beholder. You know, I'm working on a game like that. It's really fun. It's a tough kind of game to make, RPGs in general, but it's fun, and it's. I'm still not sure what I want to do with that one. I know it's working, which is why I'm not working on it. I haven't been working on it in a while because I know it's a good game. It's gonna work. But I've got other priorities. As I said, when I know the game is working, I try to stop working on it and focus on something else. Go back to my main project. So with that one, I realized it was working, so I just quit. You know what I mean? Well, not quit because I know I'll come back to it, but I left it on the side for now. But I'm sure it's going to be a fun game. Now for that specific game, I need to find a good... one thing that I have difficulties with is when I design a game, I have a hard time figuring out what it's going to be in the long run. I can imagine a gameplay mechanic, but it's hard for me to imagine what the game is going to be for the player who plays it for a long time, you know? That's my flaw, I guess, as a designer. I need to work on that. So the RPG one, the first person RPG, I'm still not sure what is going to be in the long run. What kind of game it's going to be. What's the progression like? So now you can see the backlight scenario because I added the shadow. The best indicator of light is shadow, always. And I try my caustic thing. See, it's simple actually, just a few pixels and you got it. All right. So I talked about my tactical RPG, my puzzle game, my first-person RPG. I've got 2 RPGs in the works. They are very hard game to make, very long. But I'm always trying to find ways to make it simpler. I cheat a little bit. Like tactical RPG is, in terms of the content, it's not quite as long as RPGs. Because the battles, it's one asset, and it takes a long time to go through it. What else did I make? I've also worked on a long time ago on a 3D. Before I worked on the game I showed you yesterday, I made a few 3D games. Well, 3D prototypes. I was just trying things. And one of them was some kind of anti-gravity racer, you know, like Wipeout and F-Zero. It was fun. I spent a lot of time working on the anti-gravity system. It was really fun. The game feel was good. I should probably come back to that game one day because the game feel was great. And the reason why I stopped working on it was because it was just, I didn't want to add weapons like in Wipeout. I wanted to stay I thought that if I added, it was already pretty close to Wipeout, you know. A 3D anti-gravity racer is very similar to Wipeout, and if I added weapons, it would have been even worse. So I thought I shouldn't add weapons in that game. But then it turned into a boring racing game, and I couldn't find the right way to make it work. So I decided to leave it on the side, and who knows, maybe I will come back to it one day. I also made an adventure game. I remember some kind of game. It's between Zelda, Wind Waker, and Dark Souls. It's like Zelda Wind Waker, except it was a little bit more serious. I always my way of making games is always to get inspired by another game. I don't worry about being original, making something new. I don't care. I just make games that are similar to the games that I like. And it's actually, if I'm more interested in games that are inspired by games that I love than I am by games that are different and original. I don't care about the originality. It's just me, you know. It's part of my way of thinking. I would like to find something more interesting for this. Maybe it should actually be dark, and I should add light on top, right? Not this one. So yeah, every time I make a game, it's because I'm inspired by a certain game. Most of the time, a retro game, a game I played as a kid. And I don't care if games are original. I'm not saying it's the way it should be, but it's just my impression of video games. The reason why I want to make games is because I loved playing games when I was a kid. I still do, but when I play games, it's always games that remind me of my childhood. The reason why I like Dark Souls, for instance, is because it reminds me of hardcore game you had when, like in 8-bit era. I lost the shape a little bit, I realize. I will try and mimic this with my light up here to try and get back to the proper shape. Alright, and then I will double it. So something like this should work better. And then I need to break up this, maybe like this. Yeah, this is better. It's working nice. I will try something with the light. It's a bit drastic, but I wanted to try it. Or maybe even it's not a stupid idea. I guess I can make it work, but nah. But what I can do is this, and maybe get rid of this. I'm not convinced. I'll come back to what I had. This is probably better. Not very happy with the smoke. I'll try something else. I don't know if I should try a gesture like this, or if I should try and be more geometric about it. It's probably better like this, right? What can I do now to improve it? I kind of like it. Maybe the smoke is too bright. Nah, it's actually nice. And it's pointing towards the center of interest, which is nice. Alright, so I will try and get some light in here, but I'm not sure it's going to work, so I'm using another layer. Oh yeah, I'm on a new layer. Obviously, it's not going to work if I fill it. I don't know, I don't think it's better. But one thing I can do is try to create a random shape with gray like I just did, but instead of making it so geometric, I'll try something like this, you know. Or maybe I can try and make it transparent, but it will, if I try and show these through the glass, it will conflict with my translucency. I don't think this is working either. This most likely won't work. So maybe I should just leave it like this, right? Kind of like it. I still think this is too obvious. Maybe I should make it more discreet. But I think it's working. Yeah. And what if I get rid of this completely? No, I need it. Maybe I'm trying to get a... this lighting, this translucency is competing with my caustic I wanted to make. So I need to find a way to make this more discreet. And I could try to keep it on one side like this. I don't know. Something like this. I still prefer this, you know. Maybe this was probably better, but yeah. All right, I will leave it like this. So as usual, if you have any question or if you want me to talk about something specific, leave a comment or come talk to me on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever you use. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.